Hey, welcome to Kingdom Kids City. Today we're going to be learning about Paul's third journey. But before we get started, I need my book. So, book please. And here we are. Let's get started with today's story. Paul's third journey. Paul traveled from Athens to the city of Corinth. There he met a Jewish man named Aquila and his wife Priscilla. They were tent makers, as was Paul. So Paul stayed with them and worked with them. On the Sabbath days, Paul went to the synagogue to talk to the Jews and Greeks. He tried to persuade them to believe in Jesus. Some of the people believed, and the church grew in Corinth. Paul traveled with his friends Aquila and Priscilla from Corinth to Ephesus. Aquila and Priscilla stayed in Ephesus while Paul visited churches throughout Asia. Paul helped the believers in the cities grow stronger in their faith. While Paul was traveling, a Jew named Apollos came to Ephesus. Apollos knew the scriptures well. Apollos liked to talk to people and tell them about Jesus and what he thought was true. But he did not understand everything about Jesus. So Priscilla and Aquila took him to their home and explained more to him. Apollos traveled and taught others using the scriptures to show that Jesus is the Messiah. Paul met with a group of people to eat the Lord's Supper. He talked to the group until midnight. As Paul spoke, a young man named Antiochus was sitting in the window. He listened to Paul talking and became very sleepy. When he fell asleep, he fell out the window, 3 stories down to the ground. Antiochus was dead, but Paul went to his side and put his arms around him, and Antiochus came back to life. Paul continued talking until the morning. Then the believers took Antiochus home, and they were greatly comforted. Now Paul traveled back towards Ephesus. He decided not to stop in Ephesus, but asked the leaders of the church there to meet him in a nearby city. Paul said to them, "I am obeying the Spirit and am going to sail to Jerusalem. I do not know what will happen to me there, but I know that trouble and jail wait for me. I do not care about my own life. The most important thing is that I finish the work Jesus gave me to do. I want to tell people the good news of God's grace." Paul and the church leaders prayed together, and they cried because they knew they might never see Paul again. Then they went with him to the ship to say goodbye. Today's Christ Connection is actually found on a blimp. So can you guys tell me which blimp has the Kingdom Kids logo on it? And that is where we will find our Christ Connection. Correct, the bottom right one. Today's Christ Connection. As Paul traveled on his third missionary journey, he used every opportunity to tell people the good news about Jesus and to help the church. Paul was dedicated to Jesus, who called him to do the work of sharing the gospel. Alright, we're going to watch a short little recap video that'll tell us more about Aquila and Priscilla. So make sure those ears are listening and those bubbles are caught, and I'll see you in a bit.
Slapstick Theater. Aquila and Priscilla. This is Aquila,
Heyo!
who was a Jewish man who was married to Priscilla.
Hi!
They lived in Italy until Claudius Caesar forced all of the Jews to move out of Rome.
Get out of here.
So they went to live in Corinth. There, they worked as tent makers and met Paul,
Hey!
who told people about Jesus.
Hey, come on!
Paul lived and worked with Aquila and Priscilla while he was in Corinth, telling people about Jesus. Aquila and Priscilla went on a trip with Paul to the port of Ephesus.
Wait, see you in a bit.
While they were in Ephesus, they heard a man preaching named Apollos
That's me. Hey, wait up! Huh?
and taught him more about God.
Oh, alright.
They remained friends with Paul
Yeah!
and helped him in his mission to tell people about Jesus.
Hey, thanks for that.
They once even risked their lives for Paul.
Oh, thanks for that too.
When Aquila and Priscilla went back to Corinth, they gathered people to their home for church. Paul told the people in a letter that he was thankful for Aquila and Priscilla and their service to the church.
Question 1. Why did Aquila and Priscilla stay in Ephesus? They stayed in Ephesus to help Apollos understand that Jesus is the Messiah. Last question. Why did Paul go to Jerusalem instead of going back to Ephesus? The Spirit told Paul to go to Jerusalem, even though he did not know what would happen to him. Paul was obeying God. Okay, that's it for today's Kingdom Kids Connect video. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Bye!